Okay, welcome back. This will be hopefully the last video section that we do for this demonstration. Just to review, we've created the shell. We have provided the primary wall elements inside the building, and we've kind of developed what areas we'll see and what we won't see are going to be left outside the view of these areas. So the bathroom, most of the kitchen are not going to be seen, and a fair amount of the stairs and the fireplace. But some small parts are going to be viewable, so we need to work on those. So let's start with the kitchen and start looking at what's required there. Now, a good reference would be your interior elevation. We're not going to see very much of this part of the kitchen, but this part of the kitchen we will be seeing. So let's start with that, and we can use our floor plan and this to get most of the information we need. So again, looking at the information that's on the floor plan, we can project, we can draw the lines out on the floor and follow them along for the base cabinetry, at least the parts that we see. And so I just marked the note, or with a note here, I'm going to go ahead and erase part of the wall that we're not going to see, which is right there. So basically, that form right here is the form of the base cabinet. So we'll start with the base cabinet, and then we'll work our way up, and then we'll put some details in, and that'll get us close to where we need to be. So first thing, we've located the base. It comes out of the wall, turns, and goes back into the kitchen area. How tall is it? 3 foot. That's from our, we can measure it here. Yes. And so that 3 feet will go from this edge to this edge, and actually the whole length of this thing. So we'll go ahead and measure and mark it. And as before, all those horizontal lines are going to end up on a 45. So we're going to shoot those lines around here so that we can get rid of some of those other lines so they don't confuse us. Okay, so there's our basic box of the base cabinet, and it extends until we can't see it anymore. It goes underneath, and we'll fix those lines up in just a bit. There's a second piece, which is the overhead cabinets, and those overhead cabinets, they extend up from the top of the base cabinet 18 inches. Oh yes, there's a soffit in here, so that soffit needs to be looked at. You could take a look at it in the section. You can see that it lines up with the cabinet. It gives kind of a height element there. So we're going to come back down here. We're going to put that soffit in right here. Coming down from the ceiling 12 inches. Comes very close to our window trim, and it extends out 12 inches. Now I'm going to erase this just a little bit because it actually kind of engages that element right there. That's where the soffit stops. Now, the one thing I want you to know and keep in mind is that the cabinet does not line up with the outer side of that wall. If you look at the plan, there's about a 6-inch break right there, maybe 6 or 7 inch. So be careful when you line up your overhead cabinet, because it's not going to line up in the same way either. So it's going to have a little offset there. And it's going to come out just a bit like that. Now we're going to come down, and it needs to come down to there, and it needs to be 18 inches up from the cabinet, from the bottom, or from the countertop. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit. It's a little hard to see and it's a little funny. Okay. Now our cabinet our overhead cabinet is now under the soffit, and it extends back that way. I'm going to go ahead and put in the cabinetry a little bit more boldly, at least the top portion of it, so we can see it a little better. Now, we're not quite done with, there's a lot of detail that goes on this cabinet, and you've already placed most of it on the interior elevation. So let's go ahead and place that in there. What we have on the interior elevation is we have some drawers. We have a thickness of the cabinet or the countertop. We have a 4-inch splash behind, which is that little piece of countertop that it gets extended up the wall. And then we have a toe kick down here. That toe kick is 4 inches by 4 inches. So in order to do that, we need to put that in. Now the toe kick typically only extends in the front of the cabinet. It doesn't go to the side. But there still will be baseboard and some base trim that goes in there. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and put in the 4-inch toe kick here. And it's 4-inch by 4-inch. So measure that one by that one. Sorry, by that one. There we go. And it now extends back that way. So now our base cabinet really has this kind of a look. And we'll put the countertop in, and that is extended below the top by 2 inches. So our existing top is there. We'll turn the corner, put the trim in. Okay, so there's our countertop. We haven't put drawers in. We'll do that in a minute. I'm going to put the backsplash on, and that's another 4 inches. So it goes from here to there. And believe it or not, it does have a thickness. I'm not going to get too carried away with this, but understand that that backsplash goes up the wall, and you probably have one in your home right now. Okay, so what we have is the base cabinet and the overhead cabinet above that. And the overhead cabinet, if we just simply scale off the size, it looks like, I'm going to change my scale here, it looks like it's about 1'6". And so I'm just going to measure from here along that angle, 1'6", and it's going to take me to there. And there's where that door is. I'm not going to put the door swings in on this. It gets very complicated when you do that. But I also know that my drawers are about another 18 inches, so I'm going to just go ahead and put them in. At this point, that's a reasonable... Let's go ahead and place that there. Okay, so that's where the drawers are. And the drawers look like they're 6, 6, and whatever's left over. So we'll start on the outside here, and we'll go 6, mark it, mark it, mark it, and what's left over. There's a drawer, there's a drawer, there's a drawer, and whatever's left over. And then the other element becomes the door, cabinet door next to that. Okay, so we're almost done. One of the things you can do now, and you can start doing it, you don't have to do this really heavy, but just understand that if you look around your home or wherever you're going to see a baseboard, we want to include the baseboard on here. That's a way of adding some detail and some distinction to a floor plane that isn't on a wall. And so to do that, I'm going to use the finish plan or the finish surface on all these walls, and I'm going to extend them up about 4 inches. Just double checking. It's not as high as you think. Spruce that up just a bit. It needs to be a little taller. Bring that down. There we go. There we go. Now, that baseboard goes around almost everything. So it's going to come, we're going to measure it at the corner here. Don't line it up because remember the walls on the cabinetry do not, or the cabinet edge does not line up with this wall. Okay, so there's 4 inches, goes to there. We turn the corner. We're going to just do this all over the place. Okay, so there's our base. We're going to put base on the column. Okay, and on this column, line it up. Okay, we can put it upstairs here. Let's do one more run at that. We'll just put it in light here because we're going to be doing some extra stuff up here in just a bit. Okay. All right. So again, base is helpful in that it distinguishes a floor, and we're going to talk about more of that detail in just a bit, especially as pertains to interior design. Okay. So we have the cabinet done. And let's see what else is on our list here. Okay, so we've done all those elements. We're good. Oh, let's put in this cabinet here real quick. So if you look at your other interior elevation, you'll get that breakup. Let's see if I have that here. I can use this information here on my element on my section to give me that information because that's actually correct. So each of those looks like they're 18 inches and their height, it's 4 inches on a toe kick, and looks like it's 3'3". So we're going to go 3'3". We don't have to do too much because we don't see anything above. So we know the corner is right there, and we know there's a kick in it. So we're going to go ahead and follow that kick, which is the same 4 inches that we've provided there. We're going to pull it back 4 inches, 4 inches, make the corner hard, extend that cabinet forward. We'll go ahead and erase the previous markings. And because it's 18 inches of depth, bring that back just a bit. Okay. We're almost there. Let's double check here. We're pretty darn close. We're not going to mess with it too much. There's a little slight line right there, but I don't want to monkey with that. Okay. That cabinet's done. So that one's done for what we can see of it. This cabinet's done for what we can see of it. So now we're pretty much done with the kitchen area. Let's go upstairs. If we go upstairs, we can start to look at a couple things that are important. One of the elements is in this orientation, we found our loft wall, and it's right there, and it'll go all the way over to where the stair opening is, and we'll come to that in just a minute. But we have this little alcove that occurs where a dresser or some piece of shelving or cabinetry would be, and so we're going to go ahead and show that. That wall goes all the way up. So, and probably best discerned when you go back to the plan, just measure it, because we could actually take this tape it down and do the same thing we did at the ground floor level, but there's just a few things that we need to measure, so I'm just going to take them directly off the plan. And it looks to me like it's about 3 feet wide and it's about 2 feet deep. So I'm going to measure from the floor line 3 feet wide, and it's got a interior wall, so it's going to be 4 inches wide, and it's 2 feet deep. So we're going to mark that and go 2 feet deep. Okay, so that's where it is on the floor. It has to go all the way up to above to the ceiling line or to the roof line. So since it's an open roof, that's where it's going to extend to. But it's a slope roof, and this element's going to be flat. So what we have to do is we simply extend the walls up from each of these edges, take it all the way up to the inside roof line, and then we're going to, at the far roof line, at the far vertical line, which is that inside edge of that alcove, we're going to then project back at a 45-degree angle. And that's going to give us what that wall actually looks like. And we know that that's going to come out about 2 feet. And so it's going to line up with the one down below. So that goes to there. That goes to there. And we finish it off with a 45. And I can clean up some of these lines here now so that they are easier to discern what is actually going on. Okay. So I'm going to go over that one more time so that we can see it better. There's that piece. That piece. Don't forget my base in there. And that base has to come around and wrap around this alcove. Okay. So there it is. Now, we have completed most of the upper loft area. We just have a couple more things to understand. As we talked about when we worked on this section, that this slope has to match the stair. That means that of all this slope stuff that we did last week with the stair, the railings and all that stuff, applies to interior stairs just as much as exterior stairs. And we said last week that the railing was 42 inches. Well, our guard wall here, our low banister, it's not a banister, low wall, loft wall is 42 inches as well. So this wall is going to turn. It's going to turn and go down. So it's going to go this way, it's turn and go down. So we need to find where it begins and how to make it slope. So one of the things that we do is that we have previously provided the floor boundaries inside, but we really didn't extend the loft wall that far because we really didn't have a sense of how far it went. But now we can, with some reliability, look at our plan again. This is our orientation. You can see it lined up. Look at it, it lines up pretty darn good. So we're going to measure this width right here for that stair, and that's going to give us the end of the wall. The end of the wall stops right there, then turns and goes down. So I'm just going to look at that, and that's 3 foot even. So here's the very corner. That point right there is that's that point right there. It's lined up with the outside edge, not the inside edge of the wall. If you look again at your plan, you'll see it. It makes sense. So I'm going to simply extend this wall over to that outside wall, and here it is, and it goes out, and that's the edge. Now I'm going to measure back 3 feet from that point. 1, 2, 3. So I've measured back 3 feet from here to here. And we're going to extend that wall up, and where it intersects the top line, and now what you're going to observe is it's hiding behind the chimney. It's like, well, why are we bothering with that, Secor? Because we have to. We're not going to have it in the finished drawing, but I need to refer to it because this railing wall is going to emerge from the backside. And then we have some handrail stuff, and we have some other stuff that we have to kind of put on here. Okay, so if you look, our wall, I'm going to take this and I'm going to extend it over just a bit so we can see it behind the chimney. I'm drawing behind that this wall comes to here, stops right there, and the first stairs go this way. So how are we going to do those stairs? We don't have to do them all like we did last week, but we do need to do some of them. And that's going to give us that slope that we need. So to do that, if we start at the very outside where we took our measurement, if we start on this point and measure down 7, out 11, down 7, out 11 for each of those, going maybe 3 or 4. We don't have to go all the way down because it's not necessary. But that's going to give us the information. So if we're coming off, this is the first step. We're going to go down 7. So we're going to mark it. And then I'm going to come out 11. So we're going to measure and mark, measure and mark, measure and mark, and we're going to get close. So I'm going to come down another 7 from that corner, and then out 11. Okay, down 7, out 11. I've got to mark my 7. Okay, now we only have 1 or 2 more to do. But and it's a little painstaking, but it's worth it because you'll find that it gives you an accurate picture of that slope. And so, as we talked about at the very beginning, with the rules, if we don't know the exact slope, we're going to take the information off measurable portions of the drawing that we can rely on. And those steps, we know where they start, and we know what their placement is by rise and run and heights. So as a result, we're very close. We'll just do one more step here, and that'll get us right about where we need to go. Okay, I'm not going to do any more. What I wanted you to see is that, just like last week, the nosing of each of those points, that's where the stair riser meets the stair tread. That nose of the stair, we need to be 42 inches above that in order to make that work. So we measure from here. We go from the first one, we're going to go 6 and 3. And it goes to here. And we're going to do the next one. We're going to go 6 plus 3 feet, goes to there. Then we're going to do the next one. And that goes from 6 and 3, that goes there. Do the next one. 6 and 3 goes there. Yeah, I'm going to do one more just to keep myself in check here, 11 inches, and we'll be good. And so now I'm going to go up 6 and 3. Okay, so now what I want you to see is the slope of this thing is predicated by each of these little points. And as I draw this line in, you'll see I'm pretty darn close to making them all work. Now it's really light on here, and I'm going to try to make that a little darker for you to see, but I just simply went from this one, this one, this one, this one, and actually this one, and projected up 42 inches, and that gave me a point. And now they're all connected. That represents the slope. Now, You could do the same thing by coming over to this side right here and repeating it. Down 7, out 11, down 7. But remember, it's vertical and angle 45. Vertical, angle 45. It's not a 90-degree turn. Some people get messed up that way. Don't fall for it. It's vertical, 45. Vertical, 45. So you could do the same thing here, and that would give you a comparable slope on this side. I don't need to do that. I have this. So because I have this, I can set that slope and get really close to it with the adjustment, and that's it. So I'm gonna draw that in kind of hard. You can see that line now much easier. Okay, all I have to do now is bring that same slope over to the edge, this corner. All I have to do is bring this slope over to this corner and extend it down, and I can do that. So I'm going to start at the corner. I'm going to keep it light because I'm behind the fireplace. As soon as I get in front of the fireplace or away from the back of it, I can go a little bit harder. Okay. And I have some wall thickness to put in. Okay. So I've got my stair here. I don't have to really show it on this backside. We're not going to see it. But one of the things I do want to check is how far does this sloped wall actually go within the view orientation that we've got? Well, if you look down here, you can see this is where the wall ends. So I'm going to shoot a wall up at the corner here and another one at this corner. And I've got to get back to my slope here. Let's come back over here and make sure it's correct. Good. Adjust it. There we go. That's the end of that stair railing. It starts up here, goes behind the chimney here, and extends down to the end wall. So it's coming out here. That chimney is in front of it right here from our view orientation. It breaks out and it stops right there, and then it drops vertically. Okay, so that represents that wall. Now, it's not the same as the back wall of the fireplace. We'll look at that in a minute. But I am going to complete the stairs here, and I think I'm going to have to do a few more now that I look at this. And so I'm going to extend this thing and just do the last stairs again, down 7 and 11. There's 7, and on a 45, 11. So let's get that vertical in. And let's get the 11. It's fussy, but it helps us to complete this work. And it gives us some reliable information about how the railings are going to be applied and all that good stuff. Let's check this to see how much further I have to go. I am right on the edge. I'll have to put one more in. Okay, I don't have to measure that down. Okay, so now all I really have to do is come across these at a 45 because it is perpendicular to our view angle. And so that gives us an opportunity to complete the stair. And that's it. I'll make that a little bit more prominent in just a bit. Let's get those verticals in so that they're easier to see. Again, it's a rough out, so if I'm a little bit off, it's okay. I shouldn't say it's okay. It just means that I can fix it later One last one there. There. Now, you should be able to see that stair and how it works. That's what it's going to look like. And is the matching slope. Now, if I needed to put in a handrail, it would be pretty simple. I have the slope. I'm just going to copy the slope again because we know that that handrail needs to be at 42 inches above the nosings of each stair. So if I do this, just bring a little bit below that. There we go. I've got a wall on this side, handrail on that side, and stairs connecting the two together. It's a little bit of detail, but it's important to understand the mechanisms. So now I have my drawing. It is mostly complete. The only thing I want to do now is I want to get the fireplace wrapped up because there's a couple things that may not be absolutely wrapped up there, and we can fix that by simply going back to the section and taking a look at a couple things. So we're going to go down below real quick, and we're going to line out the fireplace, not the firebox, just the outside of the fireplace, and there looks like there's a wall down there, but I think it's going to get covered up. In fact, I'm pretty certain it is. So let's extend up. Let's measure how high our fireplace is. It's 4 feet high. The mantle is 4 feet. So I'm going to come from this corner right here of the fireplace. I'm going to go up 4 feet. And we're going to see where it ends up. So 4 feet takes me to here. So we see a little bit of it. We see that much of it. And it goes up 4 on all 4, and there it goes. And then this comes back like this, and it kind of flushes out. So here's what we're going to see as we clean up the lines. That line disappears there, and this line remains. And that's all we really see of the fireplace. What about the back wall behind it? Well, that back wall behind it looks like it's a relatively elevated wall. So we may, but it dies right at the, back of the fireplace. So that wall is how high? Let's just measure it real quick and we'll put it in. That wall looks like it's 8 feet from finished floor. So we come down here on the inside here, and we go 8 feet, and that takes me to there on the inside. My alignment got a little off because the copy shifted on me just a bit, but I know where things are. So there, double check my measurements just to make sure that we don't have something funny going on here. 8 goes to there, yep. Comes out. And where it intersects these walls, or where it intersects the chimney, it extends to there, and it extends to there. So we're not going to see very much of this thing. It extends, it lines up right here, it stops right there basically. And so that wall right there is from there to there. We see just a little tiny bit of it. And that's where it goes. And it pretty much stops. I'm going to go ahead and add some thickness in. And that's where it is. Okay. So we don't have to mess with that too much more. We can hard line in this some of this stuff around the chimney now, because the chimney has a pretty prominent place in this cutaway. So I'm going to make it, it's in front, so I'm going to make it strong and keep it easy to see. Oops, drew beyond my tool there. Okay, and we're coming in close. There we go. So that is what the fireplace looks like in this smaller view of things. And that's the basic piece. Now, what I want to share with you in this last few minutes is some discussion about how to make the drawing have a little bit more punch, a little bit more readability, a little bit more significance as a completed piece. And in the beginning of the lecture, well, even in your sample, you can start to see how much and how effective a flooring application can be in indicating what planes are what. You could put, we have stippled up here to maybe represent carpet. We've got hardwood down here below that maybe helps to understand that that's a different material than the walls. And like I said, don't get hung up about this drawing. It's incorrect, but for example purposes, it is probably a pretty effective thing. And so the other drawing that I wanted to share with you, I'll put this down because it makes it a little easier to see that, is this study that I did for a previous class showing a whole variety of different things. Instead of having closed railing, I did open railing so people could see what that looked like. I left part of the front on just so we could see what a smaller cutout would look like. And we could see the flooring here. We can even see the flooring through the windows. Now, this is a different plan. I mean, it's a different solution for the design. Same building, just a different set of design criteria. But what I wanted you to see is how things can be added to the drawing that give it prominence. Last week, we talked about maybe adding in some roofing. That's a good thing. In this particular case, I put bricks on the outside to anchor, to give it more visual weight. Inside, I actually put tile in the kitchen and in the bathroom so we could see that. So we have wood on these different floor surfaces, but then we change that to be tile there. Again, it's just a way of adding distinction to your drawing. Now, if you do the minimum solution to the assignment, it kind of looks like that. And that gets you this kind of grade. But if you go a little bit further and put some tile in where the tile goes, maybe it goes here and here and here. Or maybe you want to have this tile and carpet, or maybe you want wood. It's all you. You get to be designer at this point. So at that point, I want you to know that you can enhance your drawing significantly by adding just a little bit of detail to it. And that will make it read better, and it'll also give you some thinking about how the drawing and your design are really working out from an aesthetic solution standpoint. So, with all that, I'm going to say that this wraps up this video, this demonstration video. We are going to need, as I've mentioned before, to place this on a finished title block, and you're going to want to center it. You don't want it off to the side or in some sort of, we want it centered so that it's a good looking drawing. So that's why we work it out here and we trace it on here. So that requirement is there with all the labels and scale and all that other stuff we've already talked about. The other thing I want to remind you of, this is still a drawing exercise. Line quality, line weights, and lettering are really important because any of them will distract from your design. And what we really want your design is to sing, to come out strong as a good, strong graphic solution. So that's an important element here. All right, so before we leave, I look forward, as before, to seeing your completed work, your completed assignment. Please do your very best on this because it improves your skill sets every time you do that. And that also gives me an opportunity to give you a higher score for better executed work. So that concludes this week's demonstration video of the Cutaway Paraline. I want to say so long for now, and I will see you at the next class meeting. Thank you and take care.